good evening, everyone. Welcome here to the fourth race of the season for the RTR Aero 88 series as we're here tonight under the lights at Iowa Speedway. Seth Cole here in the booth with Michael Norman. Michael, about 15 drivers getting ready to take the green flag here tonight for 150 laps, getting ready to do a little bit of short track racing here in the Midwest.
Absolutely, and I'm not sure how these cars will react on short tracks like this, but it's going to be interesting to see, and we're already off on the way, heading off into turn one.
There's people that are fans of the old school race cars, very familiar with these Aero 88 bodies, as Josh Metallic duking it out here for the top position with Jeff Supta, and maybe there's a telltale sign, Michael. Second groove working in the early going. Supta swings around and is going to lead lap number one.
Yep, it's all about tire conservation, and I've raced a time or two at this track, and sometimes that turns 1 and 2 are a little tricky to get into with the amount of braking because of the speed you're carrying off the short chute.
Dave Melson making up the completion of the top four with Jeremy Jeffries now running in the 5th position as Supta points the way in the early going. Mentioned that it's the 4th race of the season, a very important race as well, because not only are these drivers trying to accumulate the most points down the stretch to the final race of the season, but the point days coming into tonight are really, really close. Frank Rivard comes in as the current points leader, only 1 point over Jeremy Jeffries, 2 points over Dave Melson. Bob LaChance is only 4 points back, and Jeff Supta is only 7 points back. I mean, you talked about this racetrack and how difficult it is, Michael. An easy opportunity for any one of those drivers to move up into the points lead or lose the points lead. A lot can be gained here tonight, despite the fact there's only 15 drivers in the field.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's hit or miss with this racetrack. It's going to come down to the one who is able to conserve their tires the most if you have a battle for second place here. And like you said, you know, I believe it was Dante Ricky who said that 3 races in they eliminate drivers. So these point standings are all that much more crucial.
And we'll be talking about that in just a few moments. Just want to correct myself too. There actually are 20 drivers in the field, only 15 elected to take time. That's where I got the number 15 in my head apparently, as we saw that pass for the second spot. Steve Melson getting by Metallic, and Metallic, there's not really a sucker hole or getting left out to dry at a short track. That's kind of what's happened to him here, because he just dropped from 2nd back to 5th, and he's about to lose that spot here with the 72 of Jim Glaude.
Yeah, that would have been the 6th spot, I would believe. And yes, it's when you're stuck on the outside like that, inside lane is the way to go. I'm going to quickly point out, I'm 100% a big-time fan of Jeremy Jeffries in this race, mainly because of his paint scheme.
Atari fan, huh?
Oh yeah, I love all the old school classic game consoles.
Jeremy Jeffries here tonight, as mentioned, up there inside the top 5 in the point standings, could leave this evening at Iowa with the points lead. Dave Melson just ahead of him there in the 38, starting to close in on the 13 of Steve Melson. So we may end up seeing I believe they're brothers, going at it for the runner-up position in just a few moments as Supta continues to pull away. You talked about, Michael, with us talking with the league admin Dante Ricky earlier on, prior to going live, how this is also an eliminator series. So we know that RTG loves to run the series within the series, makes it possible for everyone to have something to race for. So we've got the eliminator series that goes on here during this 15 race schedule. And the first round consisted of Rockingham, Darlington, and here tonight at Iowa. Top 15 in the point standings will be moving on to the next round. And it's actually really close in regards to that as to who could move on and who may be eliminated. Right now, just looking at the list, it looks like there are only a few that could stave off elimination that are making the starts here tonight. I see Jim Glaude there up inside the top 5, Dante Ricky in the field here tonight, Andre Charest as well, but only 15 drivers, the last of which being Billy Elliser, would be moving on to the next round, and I do not see the 26 in our grid here this evening, so there's a big opportunity for a driver like an Andre Charest, like a Ronald Lucet, drivers that are just outside the line. I believe Orlando Lavoie also falls into that category, to be able to knock Billy Elliser out of the top 15 and move on to the next round of the Eliminator Series, as believe we've got caution out. Yes, we do.
Caution is out. Its pit road is immediately open.
And I think Richard Martin, I think Demar might have had something to do with this caution coming out. Bit of a crunkle there on the back bumper of that STP Pontiac.
Oh yeah, he I think got into turn 3 a little too hot and spun himself right out into the wall.
Go back and take a look at it. I mean, the two tires that you have to worry about the most at a track like this, the right front, heating that up will make you tight on entry, but also that right rear. You use that up too much, you're going to have no grip on corner exit, and I think we're probably going to see that maybe the ladder, that right rear tire might have been the culprit here. Oh yeah, that thing just that had no grip going into the corner. That right rear tire temp must have been through the roof. Here's a look at it on board with Richard Martin. And I mean, once that car comes around, Michael, you're basically along for the ride. There's just nothing that you can do in that scenario except hope that you don't get anything.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, when you do everything you can to try to catch it, but once it snaps, it snaps.
Caution now for the first time tonight here at Iowa. Drivers have completed about 15 laps under green. And I noticed that everybody came down pit road. Another thing that we were told, Michael, was the fact that last season in the Aero 88 series, these drivers were only allowed to come down pit road each race and take on 4 sets of tires. Here this season, unlimited tires available. So we'll probably see pit road be a much busier place here tonight than it would have been in seasons past.
Yeah, with unlimited tires, now you can come down and take tires as often as you want. But, I mean, if you think about it, just because you have unlimited sets of tires doesn't mean you're going to be on pit road all the time. It's really still all about strategy. And while some people will take advantage of maybe having that extra pit stop that they didn't usually have in the previous season, I don't really feel like nothing with that much will change about it.
Jeff Supta and pretty much all the leaders came down pit road. I believe Ron Hagelin stayed out an extra lap. And so he got himself a lap lead. Came down pit road the following lap, turns the race lead back over to Supta, who was the first off of pit road. Like also Steve Melson, Dave Melson, Jeremy Jeffries, Jim Glaude's going to be the top 5. Had a few other drivers that stayed out an extra lap there. Richard Martin, who was the cause of the caution, would have had to have come down pit road on the second lap. And then also Cy Jones in the 7 that stayed out an extra lap. They have all now come down pit lane, and they will start towards the tail end of the field as Supta doubles up with the 13 of Steve Melson. We're getting ready to go back green here on lap 16 of 150. Now in the case of that 43 of Richard Martin, got that damage on the back end. The spoiler's obviously not going to be sticking up in the air as high as it would have if he didn't have that damage, if the car was in pristine condition. Not going to have that downforce. I mean, how difficult it's going to be for him the remainder of this race going into these corners. Going to obviously, I think, be a little bit of a looser sensation, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, Seth, we've seen how these cars run, especially at high speed here. Are you prepared for that kind of excitement again? Because I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, the uncertainty of whether or not you're going to be able to keep that car underneath you here. It's still a long ways to go. And you saw there, Supta, I don't know if he spun the tires, missed a shift, but second start/restart, and the outside line driver got the advantage. This time it was Steve Melson getting around Supta. Supta, though, back up to that second groove, trying to take the spot back, and he's going to deny Steve Melson an opportunity of leading his second lap tonight. Melson did lead the first lap there just moments ago when Supta had his moment at the start-finish line. Now these drivers starting to get a little bit anxious. Melson might have barely gone up and brushed the wall off of 2. Metallic made a move to the inside, down the back straightaway. Again, looking to the inside. Up ahead, Jeremy Jeffries shows the nose on Steve Melson. Great battling from second place on back, and Jeff Supta's loving that in his rearview mirror. out to the back. Well, not to the back, but outside the top 5 in the early going. He got kicked to the outside. Now he's trying to repay the favor to the 38 of Dave Melson. Oh, man! Metallic, I think, didn't think he was going to make the corner. Got hard on the brakes. Jim Cloud had to lift a ton, and he went up the track, and that opened the door for Andre Mahjong to make a move for the 6th position.
And there he comes. It's his opportunities like that. You never know what's going to happen. Honestly, I'm surprised he got that car stopped in such a hurry without spinning himself out. These cars on the brakes, Seth, you've seen how they are. They will snap sideways on you.
I'm surprised he got that car woed down. He didn't get run over. Credit there to Jim Cloud to be able to avoid him. You got to have cat-like reflexes when somebody breaks that late into the corner right in front of you. Nelson's going to complete the pass on Jeremy Jeffries, so move him now to the 3rd position. As Supta continues to try and open up daylight between himself and the 13 of Steve Melson. Last time by about half a second separating those two. Lap times in the favor of driver number 11 by about 4/100ths. Matter of fact, Supta, last couple of laps was running lap times in the neighborhood of the fastest lap that he put down in the first 5 laps of this race, the 23.816. Nobody else has come close to running that type of a lap time so far here tonight. And I would assume that clean air would obviously have something to do with it. Supta's been out in front now for 20 laps. Aerodynamics, while you wouldn't necessarily consider it to be a factor at a track like Iowa, much like Richmond as well, they're considered short tracks, but they're bigger short tracks. You do actually have longer straightaways, and you are going to have a lot more on and off the throttle time at a track like this than you would at a Martinsville or a Bristol.
Yeah, and if you could stay off the brakes, you can carry a lot of speed and momentum through the center and off the corners.
Oh man. Well, I guess we know don't put your left side down the apron. Jeremy Jeffries almost losing it there as he and Metallic were side by side for 3rd. That's going to drop Jeffries all the way back to, I think, the 7th spot. We'll see where he crosses the line here. Yeah, P7 now for the 8 car. That could have very easily been our 2nd caution of the night.
Very easy. He was somehow able to hold on to that. And give him props for doing it too, because it's not easy.
Not at all. It's battle for the lead might be brewing here. I was noticing that Steve Melson, Dave Melson, the gap was closing between them, but together they've been able to run down Jeff Supta. So Supta is not out of the woods yet. I thought he was going to be able to drive away like he had on the initial start of this race, but what was half a second has now been closed down to less than 3 car lengths. And Jeff Supta, amazingly enough, just ran his fastest lap of the race this far into a run, and he just ran a 23.801. So that makes me wonder, Michael, if maybe once he got the race lead, if he was maybe holding a little something back, trying to preserve the tires, now that he sees the 13 and the 38 getting larger in the rearview mirror, he's feeling now's the time to start booking it, lay down those qualifying lap times and try and open up the gap again.
Yeah, but that comes at a price, and opening it back up now. Seth, you and me both know the strategy. Excuse me. We both, if we have the fast cars, it doesn't always mean that you have to push yourself. Let yourself fall back, let other cars catch you, but don't let them get away. That's the big thing. Save your stuff, but stay at a respectable distance.
I can't recall the amount of times that we've taken part in league races and drivers that will run from 10th to 15th, all of a sudden they're up inside the top 3 in the closing stages. Drivers that I wouldn't say necessarily play possum, but they certainly don't show exactly what they've got until it matters the most. And so with that being said, I look back at some of these other drivers like Josh Metallic, Andre Mahjong, running in the 4th and 5th position. You got Jim Cloud there as well. I know there are a lot of broadcasts that Jess and I have done up here for RTG where we've seen Jim Cloud maybe one of the best in the business when it comes to preserving your car for the long run. So while these guys right now maybe scored 2+ seconds behind the race leader. They're certainly not out of this thing, especially if you go into a long green flag run. I mean, what about pit strategy here at Iowa? How long do you want to wait before you come to pit road? Because with a track like this, you kind of have a 50-50 on how it could work out in your favor or work out to your detriment. If you come to pit road early, you get those fresh tires, you go out there, you're going to make up a lot of time while the other drivers are out there on old tires in terms of the laps completed. But if you come down pit road, you're almost guaranteed you're going to lose a lap. And if a caution comes out, no guarantee you're going to get that lap back.
I tell you, but honestly, I have no idea what the fuel window is for these guys, or tire window for that matter.
Good point. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that the Aero 88 series runs with, I want to say it's GNS physics. It might be CTS physics. And if that's the case, then obviously the fuel window would be a little bit smaller than it would be if they were running GNS or obviously Cup physics. Short tracks are hard to read too in terms of trying to predict what the fuel window is, because you talked about it. The ability to maybe not use a lot of brake, just let the car coast into the corner. There's the opportunity to then also maybe throw in the clutch, save a little bit of fuel, and go longer than somebody would expect on a fuel run. Only one caution so far here tonight, and that was for the solo car spin by Richard Martin, who has since picked up a couple of spots since the restart. Restarted back in 20th, right now in the 18th position, and trying to make his way further up. Some good battling going on here in the latter portion of the field. Doug Cady there in the Napa Auto Parts number 7 shows up as the 007 on your screen. I know, Michael, you'd be appreciative of that number, the James Bond fan that you are. You got Bobby Farrell there in the Richard Petty Blue, the 92 car, and just ahead Bob Dixon in the 143. These drivers mixing it up for the 15th position. Andre Charest, 75. We saw Ron Hagel in there as well, 13th and 14th. And there's a little pack as well. 10th place back to around 12th. Ronald Lucet, Frank Rivard, your current points leader, in the 11th spot, and Bob LaChance there as well in that yellow 51. Can't tell what the sponsor is on that 51 car, but just the color of it kind of reminds me of the Yellow Pages.
Wow, way to just date yourself.
I know, right? Come on, you can't tell me that you didn't use the Yellow Pages at some point.
I never did.
Really?
I used to look at them and like read it like a book, but I never actually used it to call somebody.
Yeah, Yellow Pages.
By the time I was able to actually even own a phone, the Yellow Pages didn't exist anymore.
And then they created the internet. The Yellow Pages were obsolete.
And then they created phones that were programmed to keep numbers in them.
Yep. Pass right there. I was going to say battle, but not much of a battle. I think maybe Jim Glaude let Jeremy Jeffries on by. That was for 6.
Fire saving, maybe?
Yeah, good call. Talked about Jim Glaude, very good when it comes to tire saving. So you would think that a track like this, where it's very abrasive on the Goodyears, would be right up his alley. Maybe a battle for second here.
He's 3/10 of a second off of the 8 car that lap, so yeah, he could very well be.
Dave Melson there, run about a half groove higher than Steve Melson through 3 and 4, and I don't know if he was attempting to make a pass there or maybe just testing the waters of what's up there in that second groove, but credit to both of the Melson brothers. They have been able to keep Jeff Supta honest. He's not opened up any more than half a second gap between himself and those guys. Right now, last time by 4/10 of a second from the 11 back to the 13, and then only about maybe a little more than a car length from the 13 back to the 038. In terms of lap times, Michael, I'm a little bit surprised that we haven't seen as much of a fall off as I would have expected. Jeff Supta's fastest lap this race, 23.801. And this time by, he is just now running a lap time 2/10 slower than his fastest lap. Honestly, I would have thought, I think the caution actually might be out, so we'll get to that point in just a moment. Yeah, they're slowing. Don't know, maybe John Godfrey in the 7-Eleven. He wasn't this far back when last we checked. I think he might have been the reason for the caution. It looks like we might have had a spin on the front straightaway just past the start-finish line as race leader Supta just at this moment picks up the caution from the flag stand.
All right, let's see what we got here. Could it have been Cy Jones, maybe?
Take a look and see as race leaders are coming down pit lane. No surprise. Ran about almost 30 laps there on that run. Who was the culprit?
I think it might have been like one of those debris cautions, Seth, because I see the lights on the pace car, but I don't see anybody spun.
I saw skid marks and smoke on the front stretch.
27.
Wow, and Andre Mahjong, if I'm not mistaken, was in the 5th position? Last I checked. Let's see if that's where he was running when he spun.
He bounced off the wall into the 8.
Yeah, Jeremy Jeffries battling with Andre Mahjong. That was for 5th place, and there you see it. Just nothing that Jeffries could do as Mahjong tried to get back to the throttle maybe a little bit sooner than he should have. Up into the outside wall, bounces off it, and Jeffries was already to his left rear quarter panel. Got very lucky that that thing spun in the direction it did. He was able to get on the brakes quickly enough and not hit the inside wall. Got that lane down there. I don't know exactly what that particular area is, that straightaway on the opposite side of the pit wall. I know there's other series that run here. I know you've got the Legends course on the front straightaway. I don't know necessarily what that piece of asphalt, though, on the right side of the pit wall, what exactly that purpose is, but it helped in some way here for Andre Mahjong to not hit the inside wall. There you see his car on the right side of your screen there, and actually uses that piece of pavement to merge back onto the racetrack. Mahjong down pit road to the attention of his crew. Cy Jones staying out to lead a lap, and we had a lead change off of pit road, Michael. Steve Melson, his team getting it done. He's going to be the one to lead us back to green. He was able to beat out Supta. Looks like Josh Metallic might be lining up in 3rd. Melson will drop a spot back to 4th with Jim Cloud in the 5th position. So got a couple of position changes take place on pit lane.
Is it hilarious to see an Oscar Mayer sponsored car on a 1980s car?
I mean, well, I'm pretty certain Oscar Mayer was around in the 70s. I'm pretty sure. I literally saw a thing today about the Oscar Mayer jingle, and I'm pretty certain that was at least in the 70s.
I wasn't alive then, but you were.
No, I wasn't, but I know about these things. You know what? We're going to find out right now. They're doubling up. We're going to find out when the Oscar Mayer jingle took place. 1973. I'm continuing to date myself tonight.
I'm loving.
This is my generation. Now the funny part about it is I have very little knowledge when it comes to Aero 88 cars because I didn't even get into the sport of NASCAR until 2001. A lot more people out there know about these type of cars and how they race than I do. All right, getting ready to go back green here. We're almost a third of the way through this race. Lap 48 going to go up on the board, and Steve Melson is going to lead us to green for the first time here tonight. He's already led 2 previous laps, but it's the first time he's going to be leading us on a restart. Jeff Supta, though, has been very good in that second group on starts and restarts. Let's see if he can get to the outside of Steve here down the back straightaway and into 3.
Good run trying to get the momentum. You can carry some momentum on the outside just like he's doing. Here he comes, the 11 on the outside, but he just doesn't quite get to his quarter panel.
Almost did, though. You saw the back end of the car want to step out a little bit there on corner exit off of 4, drives it deep into turn 1, almost into the back bumper of Steve Melson as almost contact for third. Jim Loud almost pushed up into the driver's side door of Josh Metallic, now gives way, and look at the 42 of Orlando LeBoy. He's fighting and clawing his way up towards the top 5. He just made that move on Jeremy Jeffries for the 6th position.
Don't want to use your stuff too early, but when you get a chance to do it, you do it. Uh-oh.
Oh, Dante. Oh,
he's gonna lose it. There he goes. He's
right in front of Luce, right in front of Hagelin. Caution will wave.
Oh, he almost had it. Oh, there's wrecking again. John Godfrey around. He spun, I think, trying to avoid that.
Yeah, looks like single car spin there for the 7-Eleven. Oh, boy. That apron, you get down on that apron with 2 tires or 4 tires, it almost seems like a guarantee that you're spinning around, and Dante Ricky, the latest victim of that. Boy, I'll tell you what, though, when we go back and look at this replay, I want us to take a look at Ronald Luce and Ron Hagelin, because they did a heck of a job kind of backing off the throttle, allowing Dante Ricky to have that spin all by his lonesome on the back straightaway. We could have had a lot more drivers involved on that.
Yeah, very well could have. He fought. He tried so hard. I think, like you said, when you get on the brakes in these cars, it just snaps around, and I believe that might have been what happened.
Take a look and see what happened to the driver of the Canada Dry Chevrolet, who had crossed the line in the 8th position the last time around before this happened. We're actually going to go all the way back to the entrance of turn 1, see if we can find out if anything might have led to him getting on the apron. Here it is. Might get the wall. Yeah, he brushes the wall a little bit there going into turn 1. I don't know if that had anything to do with it or not. You can see his car get loose through the center of 1 and 2, and then eventually as he comes back up off the apron, the thing just snaps around. I mean, is it possible that maybe rotated the wheel a little too much to the left trying to get off of the wall, and that messed up his entry for the first corner?
That's very possible. It's happened to me a lot too. If you just barely tap the wall, it wants, for some reason, wants to spin your car around. And it could have been what happened as he was just trying to arc it into the corner, might have just brushed the wall a little bit, and he might have like jerked the wheel a little bit, and it just caused his car to break loose on him.
Well, let's find out here. Let's ride on board with Dante Ricky in that right there. See the hard turn to the left. It's kind of hard to tell here from the cockpit. You can't see how he's fighting the race car to try and keep it from spinning around. But boy, another spin that was relatively harmless. Able to get the thing woed down in time before he made contact with the inside wall. So we've had a few solo spins that have brought out the 3 cautions so far. Not much in terms of damage. We also are going to take a look and see what happened to John Godfrey as he got a little bit of help. I think it was Bob Dixon, the 143, that might have tagged him from behind as Godfrey was trying to slow up for the wreck. Yeah, Bob Dixon did not blow up.
Whoa. Okay, sorry.
That's a pretty good contact there, right front.
I thought you were
and
gonna
the
I
rear.
thought you were gonna say that was a pretty good song.
I'm trying to remember even what song that is.
Whoa. I don't remember either. Honestly.
I don't know. The closest I can think of is What's New Pussycat, and I don't think that's it.
I just remember one part of the song. That's all.
I'm secretly hoping that it's a song from the 70s, so that way you join me in the old timers club. No response. Good. Here we go. Anyway, restart.
I avoid.
I play my Uno reverse.
Uno reverse. No, skip.
+2.
Don't make me stack on you.
Okay. Well, anyway, speaking of stack, they're stacked up double wide. Segway. Jeff Supta, who got that race lead on the restart, and Steve Melson. They've pretty much been the class of the field so far, have been running in first and second a majority of this race, but still 2/3 left to go. Josh Metallic, Jim Glau going to line up in 3rd and 4th. 5th place is where we'll find Orlando LeBoy, and one driver that's conspicuously missing from the top 5. He did come to pit road, I just noticed. Dave Melson, the 038. So what strategy is he planning here giving up a spot inside of the top 5 to come down maybe for some fresh Goodyears, maybe to get off the fuel sequence with everybody else.
I'll have to wait and see if that's possible. I mean, Jeff just pulled out a huge lead.
It's Josh Metallic and Steve Melson to battle for second. Oh, Jim Cloud, little loosey-goosey off of turn 4, but he hangs on to it. Look at the track position he loses, though. Jeffries gets around for the 4th spot, and here comes Orlando LeBoy.
Now, Seth, explain, why do these cars break loose like that? It's because of that back wing.
Yep, exactly, and I think the caution's out, so we'll be able to explain it a little bit more.
Oh, on the front stretch to 51.
Bob LaChance.
Hey, would you stop talking about people? We were just talking about how his speed made him look up like the yellow pages. Now here he is wrecked.
That was like 20 laps ago. I don't think the jinx
still
lasts
talked
that
about
long.
him. You still talked about him.
Okay, and he just got wrecked by the pace car.
The pace car turned left right now.
It did. Well, the pace car is yellow too, so.
Said I'm yellow in here.
Go back, take a look, see what happened to Bob LaChance. But yeah, to your point here, you know, that small spoiler on these Aero 88 cars, not a lot of downforce for these drivers to be able to utilize. And I think, too, another big reason why we're seeing them get loose is you want to, as we said, when you're bunched up, you want to get the positions then and there before everything gets spread out. And so you're basically abusing those rear tires, trying to get back onto the throttle sooner than maybe you should. And it's very difficult on a track like this to cool those tires back down. Once you've lost that grip, it's pretty much gone for the remainder of the run.
Yeah, it really is, and that's the toughest part when you lose all that grip and then you're just fighting the racetrack for the rest of the time.
Well, LaChance makes contact with the 75 of Andre Charest. Take another look, but it looks like the 51 might have actually pushed up into the 75. Charest gets the outside wall. I couldn't tell if Andre Mahjong, the 27 behind him, also got into the wall, but 51, after the contact, the car snaps loose and spins. Here's another angle. Might have gotten the apron a little bit there, too, that pushed him up the track. Mahjong made a little contact with the front to the back of the 75, but I don't think it was any contact or any damage that's going to affect him in any way, shape, or form. And basically just another small, harmless spin for Bob LaChance. Bringing out the caution for the 4th time here tonight, and we had some more drivers roll the dice here in terms of potential pit strategy coming to pit road. I noticed Jeremy Jeffries was just on the pit lane. Like Orlando LeBoy in the 42, he was also on pit lane, as was Andre Mahjong. So for the most part, when we had our first 2 cautions, everybody came down pit road. Everybody was still on the same pit sequence. Now we're starting to see the mind games playing out here in terms of pit strategy. And again, too, we wouldn't be seeing this happen if we had the rule that was implicated last year in the Aero 88 series, where you could only make 4 pit stops during the course of the race, or 4 4-tire pit stops during the course of the race. Now, whenever the caution flies, you can come down as many times as you want, put on some fresh tires. It would have made the strategy, I think, a little bit harder to follow last season as opposed to this season. It gives drivers more options this season as well in terms of the strategy they want to apply.
Absolutely.
Lights on top the pace car. That's the good thing about short track racing is you normally don't have very long pacing periods here. So Jeff Supta and Steve Melson again will line up on the front row. Metallic and Loud, they're going to be row 2. Ronald Lucet is now up into the 5th position. And remember, we keep highlighting it here tonight, the fact that we've got the Eliminator Series for the Aero 88 Series. Top 15 will be moving on to the next round of the Eliminator Series. And Ronald Lucet is one of those drivers, along with Jim Cloud, that could be eliminated if they aren't able to get a decent finish here tonight. Same for Orlando LeBoy, same for Andre Charest. Dante Ricky also falls into that category. Ron Hagelin also. So those are drivers to keep an eye on here tonight as they try and displace a couple of drivers that are not in the field tonight that currently held spots 14 and 15, Brian Wolf and Billy Elliser. Green flag back in the air. Supta has been really good on these restarts. He's only had one hiccup here tonight, and that was, I think it was the second restart of the evening where he spun the tires. Nelson was able to get around him for a brief moment, then Supta powered right back, and no, Jim Cloud! The car never turned in turns 3 and 4, straight up into the wall. He keeps it going, no caution, but what a heartbreak there for a driver that spent most of his time up inside the top 5. And I can't see any visible right side damage, but I would have to assume there's something there.
Yeah, there might be something small there. We'll have to wait and see, but it doesn't look like it's handling any different.
That car just went straight, so a couple of things might have come into play. Could have maybe been a hardware issue, but another thing that could have happened, we didn't exactly see it, but he might have possibly had somebody brake early in front of him, and he moved up to avoid them, and maybe just the right front tire had no grip, no turnability, and into the outside wall he went. So we still stay under green flag conditions as we follow this battle for 4th. Ronald Lucet, Ron Hagelin, and Doug Cady right back there as well in the 007. Dante Ricci, who had that solo spin earlier on tonight. Nice recovery for him as he currently runs in P7. Remember, he was running in 8th when he had his solo spin on that restart. And very quiet night for the points leader, Frank Rivard. Actually, he came into this race only, I believe it was 8 points over the rest of the drivers inside the top 5. We really haven't mentioned his name here tonight, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know if he's just kind of riding, conserving, waiting for his moment, or if he just doesn't have the car here tonight to run up inside of the top 5.
Only time will tell. We're still a little early in this race. We still got about 90 laps to go, give or take.
Nelson right there. Connection problems for a brief moment as he will drive to the inside of Frank Rivard. That's going to be for the 8th position. Remember, Dave Nelson went off sequence in terms of tire strategy, giving up valuable track position. Put on fresh Goodyears, now trying to work his way back up to the front. Supta's gone. This, I think, is the biggest lead that Jeff Supta's had tonight. Last time by about 8.5 tenths of a second. Oh, yeah, the caution's out. Just saw the flagman displaying the yellow flag there.
Andre, the 51, the cars that were just involved last time. Let's see what happened here.
Mahjong might be done.
Oh, I think the 92 car, I think, lost it going into the corner and collected the 27. No, hold on. Oh, the Bobby Farrell got taken out by the 27.
And it looks like Andre Mahjong has gone to the garage area. Let's take a look at it here. Start back in turn 2, heading down the back straight. Oh, wow, yeah, just got ran over. Wow. The Bob LaChance spins on the inside, trying to avoid the wreck. Go back and look at that one again. Matter of fact, let's take a look at an aerial view here. Almost like the 27 didn't even brake for the corner. Either that or he had a much late braking area than the 92. Yeah, wow. Has some hard impact there for both those drivers. There you see LaChance, left side there on the apron, trying to avoid. I don't know if that was a case of that Andre Mahjong had a much later braking zone this race than some of these other drivers and was not expecting the 92 as lift as early as he did. But I mean, if you go back and look at it, we're going to take another look here. I want you to notice that Bobby Farrell had a car in front of him that he had to adapt his lifting point to, the 43 of Richard Martin. So it wasn't like Bobby Farrell could drive it deep into the corner to, you know, aid the 27 with his braking zone. He had to make sure he didn't run over the 43.
It could have just been a mistake and I'm not paying attention either. Sometimes it's very hard to tell, but you know, that's one thing about short tracks is no matter how fast you are, or faster than the cars in front of you, you've got to adapt to the braking points of the cars in front of you so stuff like this doesn't happen.
How difficult does it make it as well in the fact that we've had some drivers come down pit road, take on fresher tires than others, so you've got, obviously, in that case, different braking zones as well. Drivers able to drive it deeper into the corner on fresh tires as opposed to those that'll be lifting and braking a lot earlier to be able to make the corner on older tires.
Yeah, it's very frustrating. That's one thing to tell you, especially when you're somebody on fresher tires that can get up through the field. It's just very, very frustrating.
Andre Charest staying out in the 75 as everybody else came down pit road. So this will be a very valuable bonus point for a lap led for him as he tries to make his way into the next round of the Eliminator Series. Just double checking on the Andre Mahjong machine. Yeah, with him out of the race, he came into this one in the 13th seed that would have moved on. Now with him out of the race, that opens up the door for a number of the drivers we talked about, Leboy, Charest, Lucet, Cloud, to be able to maybe knock him out of advancing into the next round of the Aero 80 Eliminator Series. So costly mistake there could be the end of the road in terms of that series within the series for driver number 27. Mahjong is the only driver out of the race as well. Working our 5th caution of the night. 19 drivers of the original 20 still running, and all still on the lead lap at this point in time. We haven't had to issue a lucky dog so far here this evening.
That's why our caution laps have been so short. You know, without the extra pacing lap needed. Oh, the 7. Something's happening to the 7.
Ty Jones, who restarted the outside of the front row, not able to get up through the gears, it would appear. He held up that entire top line. That held up Ronald Lucet, Steve Melson. They dropped back to 3rd and 5th as Jeff Zook on the fresh tires. He's going to blow the doors off of Andre Charest going into 3.
It held up Steve Melson, but did it hold up Steve Buscemi?
I feel like that's an old person reference that I should get, and I don't.
You don't know who Steve Buscemi is?
I don't.
Did you ever watch Mr. Deeds?
The Mr. Deeds I watched had Gary Cooper as Andre Charest got the wall.
No, I was talking about the one with Adam Sandler.
Oh, nope.
Yeah,
Mr. Deeds Goes to Washington was Gary Cooper, sir. And that was a black and white film, in case you're wondering. Yes. Dante Ricky moving into the 3rd spot as Andre Charest, the call there on the old tires not working out in his favor. He's now got right side damage after getting to the wall as well. And caution is back out.
Well, good. Now you can look up who Steve Buscemi is.
I can. Cy Jones appears to be the driver that may have brought out this yellow. Well, maybe not. Actually, I think he might have come to a stop. I saw smoke further ahead of him. Maybe John Godfrey in the 7-Eleven?
Not the pace car.
Not the pace car. If the pace car spun out, we can all go.
It was Cy Jones. Cy Jones and Godfrey. Oh, there was a spin in front. Was that the 11 or the 111? Oh yeah, 111 got slid sideways, spun around, and Cy Jones got ran into from everyone trying to stop. And oh my gosh, Bob Dixon with the hard impact.
Looked like Bob LaChance, when I was going back here to the replay, may have also gotten involved in the 51. Here's a look at it. This started all the way back in turn 3. Doug Cady is the 7 who gets loose in the middle. He goes down to the apron. Hagelin follows him down, then gets a tag from Rivard as he comes back up the racetrack. Oh, there's that hit you were talking about from Bob Dixon. Nose first. And then Cy Jones went around afterwards. I believe he got a little bit of help from John Godfrey as Cy was trying to slow up for the wreck, saw the smoke. And then Bob LaChance into the wall trying to woe it up, and he doesn't hit anything. Bobby Farrell does a nice job avoiding as well. Yeah, that was a shot there for the 143 of Bob Dixon. Let's see if we can ride on board with him and just show how he had absolutely nowhere to go. Hard to tell, obviously. Certain drivers like the smoke on. Some of them like the smoke off in terms of racing experience. And in this case, for Bob Dixon, he had the smoke on. Probably did not see the fact that 11 was parked right in the middle of the straightaway. Here you see, oh, yeah. I think actually Bob Dixon thought that the 111 was going to hold the brakes and stay in the middle portion of the front straightaway. Then the thing started migrating down, and by the time he got to him, there was just no lane.
Yeah, it's just one of those things, you know, when someone, I mean, he ran into the back of the corner. I guess he wasn't clear. Maybe a spotter cleared him or something, but he came up and he was there, and I guess he just kept the momentum with him.
So we've been talking about a lot of different things here tonight in terms of this racetrack and how different it is from short tracks, although it is in a way considered short track racing. What about damage? Like that damage right there to the 143, how badly is that going to affect him for the rest of this race?
I'm not sure, but it'll be interesting to find out. I mean, we've seen it before. It sometimes doesn't affect like that. Or doesn't affect too bad.
Longer straights here, so that I would assume would hurt him power-wise off of 2 and 4. Would assume it wouldn't hurt him that badly, though, in the corners, as you're pretty much on the brakes or off the throttle anyway, going down to lower RPMs as lights out atop the pace car once again. We had Bob Dixon, Bob LaChance, John Godfrey involved in that wreck on pit road. Orlando LaBoy also came down pit road in the 42. A couple more drivers coming down here at the 1 to green. Frank Rivard and Cy Jones might be topping off the fuel tank, might be putting some fresh tires on, try and gain about a lap advantage in terms of grip. They will subsequently start towards the rear of the field as it's Supta still the race leader. New second place driver is going to be the 62 of Ronald Lucet. Dante Ricci's up to third. Andre Charest still on those old tires is going to restart in fourth, with Steve Melson completing the top 5. So far here tonight, we have only had 5 drivers lead laps. 67 laps for Supta, 4 laps for Steve Melson, 3 for Andre Charest, 2 for Cy Jones, and 1 for Ron Hagelin. It has been all Jeff Supta here tonight as he gets us back underway. We are now into the second half of this evening's event. Keep an eye on that blue and white number 75 of Andre Charest on those older tires as drivers try to make their way safely around him. Dante Ricci really loose there off of turn 4 as he takes the second spot from Ronald Lucet, trying to run down Jeff Supta. This is where the hornet's nest is, though. Look at this. Dave Melson, Andre Charest, Jim Glaude, Josh Metallic, all in this mix. They try and settle it out to 3.
That was close.
Contact on the back straight with Jim Glaude. That thing got loose. He saves it. Metallic nearly ran him over, but he lifted in time to allow the 72 to keep going. I think a lot of these drivers, once the back end of the car wants to come around, they get on the brakes as quickly as they possibly can. But we've seen here tonight that even getting on the brakes, the rear tires, the rear brakes don't seem to want to take to allow you to save it.
It's all about counter steer with these cars. Like, honestly, it's stepping on the brakes does not help, but counter steering might, but you don't want to overdo it.
Yeah, the big problem with that is you're going to be sliding those rear tires a lot more, and that's going to take away your rear grip on corner exit, especially on the long run. It looks like everybody's minded their P's and Q's here, have gotten themselves settled out into a couple intermittent battles inside of the top 10. Here's one of them. This is for third, maybe even for second, as they're closing in on Dante Ricci. Jeremy Jeffries putting the pressure on Ronald Lucet. Now remember, these two drivers have 2 entirely different goals. Ronald Lucet wants to make his way into the next round of the Eliminator Series. Jeremy Jeffries, he wants to pick up the victory and take the points lead over heading into next week.
Look at these cars just diving off into these corners. Not even going below 100 miles an hour.
A lot of speed here tonight, that is for sure. Let's see what the lowest speed they get down to. Maybe 113 was what I saw right there on Ronald Lucet.
I was looking on Jim Glaude. It was about 110, 113.
A lot of speed being carried into the corner here for these drivers. Looks like their top speed on the front and back straightaway is somewhere in the vicinity of about 150 miles per hour, going into 140 going into turn 3.
Pit road. Dante Ricky.
Interesting call there. Dante was running in second. Is this scheduled?
Oh, something
Nope.
has to have come up. He just took it behind the wall.
He did. Dante Ricky's out of this thing, and he was running in the runner-up position, so not certain what happened there. Huge turn of events is now Jeremy Jeffries will move up to second, Lucey to third, and then Steve and Dave Melson to fourth and fifth positions. That was really confusing, but now you've got your top two former winners this season. Jeffries winning a couple of weeks ago at Rockingham. Supta, of course, the defending winner from last week at the track Too Tough to Tame Darlington. The other former winner, Frank Rivard, still running way back here. Here he is. Last time by scored in the 14th position. So unless something drastically changes here, it's certainly looking like Frank Rivard will not be going into New Jersey Motorsports Park next week as your overall points leader. Close there between Jim Glaude and Josh Metallic as they're mixing it up for the 6th position. Up ahead, Steve Melson under fire from Dave Melson. That's for a spot inside the top 5, 4th position. Supta continuing to pull away. He's got almost 2 seconds now between himself and the 8 cars. So if you're Supta, I think at this point in time, we've run 6 caution flags. Now he doesn't want to look up in that flag stand and see a yellow flag waving from now to the checkered flag, because at this point in time, it certainly looks like he's got this race in hand.
Oh, yeah.
Got 6 drivers right here. You could throw a blanket over from 2nd back to 7th. Jeffries, Lucey, both of the Melsons, and then Jim Glaude and Josh Metallic. With Dante Ricky's early departure, that now puts 2 drivers back in the garage area, joining Andre Mahjong. We also might have the potentiality of lap traffic coming into play because, don't know if you saw it right there, top right of your screen, but just as the leaders were going into turn 3, that was Bobby Farrell and I believe that might have been Cy Jones that were, oh, whoa, whoa! Bobby Farrell actually just almost spun it out there, right in front of the leaders, up and into the outside wall. Now the leader's going to go on by him. It was actually Jeff Supta was the other car I saw up ahead that was lapping the 92.
Well, we got lap cars now, so
A while before they catch the next lap machine. Cy Jones is about 10 seconds ahead of the 11 of Supta. That could have been really bad there if Bobby Farrell had gone around, because that would have been right in front of this pack. 2nd place on back, being led by Jeremy Jeffries. Looking at the lap times right now, 23.9 for Supta, 24.0 for Jeremy Jeffries. So there's a full 1/10 of a second difference between those two. The big question, though, is the 8 car saving? Is the 11 using up his tires too much? I mean, which side of the spectrum are they on in terms of how aggressively they're pushing these Goodyear tires? As things stand right now, if my calculations are correct, Ronald Lucey, if he continues to run in the position he's currently holding, P3, he would be moving on to the next round of the Eliminator Series. Not certain about Andre Charest and Orlando Lavoie, though, because they're right now back in 10th and 11th position. I believe at least one of them would move on based on the fact that Brian Wolf is not in the field, neither is Billy Elliser. So we know that 2 drivers at least are getting displaced. The big question mark is going to be, will somebody finish high enough to displace Andre Mahjong, who's going to finish out this evening's festivities in the 20th position? Oh, contact right there between Metallic and Melson.
We've got about 53 laps to go, so I would assume that these drivers would have at least one, maybe two more pit stops.
I think if not for anything else, they would want to come to pit road maybe for tires. Like we said, we don't know what the fuel window is for these drivers, but this seems like one of those tracks where your right front tire might wear out quicker than your fuel tank would empty. Jeffries is starting to gap this move though, so he might be, for the moment, firmly in control of second place. Steve Melson trying to get back up into the podium. Remember that Steve Melson spent most of the first half of this race up in the second position, but got held up behind Cy Jones a couple of restarts ago, and it dropped him back to fifth. He's since had to claw his way back up into the top three, right now running in the fourth position. We are 50 laps away from the conclusion of tonight's race here at Iowa for the RTR Aero 88 series. Jeff Supta has led 90 of our laps so far. He's looking to lead the last 50. Will he be able to do so? We'll be finding out very, very shortly. If trouble breaks out, we'll break in, but for now, we're going to step aside for a quick race break here. You're not going to miss a thing because we're going FRN side by side. Welcome you back here to Iowa Speedway, playing host to the fourth race of the season for the RTR Aero 88 series. 40 laps away from the conclusion as Jeff Supta completes lap 110. It's really been the Jeff Supta show here tonight as he has led 100 of the laps so far. Jeremy Jeffries has broken away, firmly in control of second, but he's almost 3 seconds behind the race leader. Good battle going on third here between Ronald Lucet and Steve Melson, and you saw there during our race break the 7 of Cy Jones on pit lane for what I'm assuming is a scheduled pit stop, maybe his final pit stop of the night, but he returns to the track 2 laps down as a result.
Product of green flag pit stops here is, you know, with the track being so short,
and Lucet's coming in. Look at this. 62, diving it down to the apron of turn 3, feeling that's the safer way to get onto pit road. So the driver that was running in third, the first to throw down the gauntlet for the drivers inside the top 5.
Ooh, and depending on where pit speed starts at this racetrack, he might have sped. If pit speed's 45, he was going at least maybe a little over 50. Still trying on the brakes to slow down.
Jim Glaude and Doug Cady are also in this lap, so this will more than likely draw more drivers to pit lane. Frank Rivard, points leader, is into the attention of his crew. See if anybody else inside the top 5 is going to come down pit road. Here comes Orlando LeBoy in the 42, Andre Charest in the 75. Still yet to see our race leader in the 11 hit pit road. Jeffrey's going to stay out another lap as well. Like anybody else from the top 5 coming to pit lane. So now, if you're any of these drivers that have hit pit road at this point in time, you're kind of like Jeff Supta. You don't want to see a caution come out because most of these guys have lost a lap as a result of pitting under green. I think the driver to watch out of all this is going to be the 62. He was third when the pit stops began.
Wonder when Jeff hasn't not made his pit stop yet. Wonder how far he's going to push it.
Boy coming off of pit road. Remember, for Orlando LeBoy, that pit stop is him trying to advance into the next round of the Eliminator Series. John Godfrey now coming down pit road. Godfrey was running, I believe, on the tail end of the lead lap, so he will more than likely return back onto the racing surface 2 laps down. Here's the leader. So what about the 8? Does Jeffries
really
go an extra lap?
Wall.
I almost wonder if that might be tactics for Supta. It's the shorter way around the racetrack, plus if your car spins out, you got a better chance of that inside wall catching you, maybe.
These guys are hot pitting, even here on a short track.
I was wondering about that. Like, I thought, we've seen them before at speedways utilize hot pitting, and I thought this has got to be the one track where they can't do that, right? But no, they've been trying to do it. Ron Hagelin's in as well in the 111. That turned the lead over to Steve Melson in the 13.
Did you look up who Steve Buscemi was under that last yellow?
I didn't, I'm sorry.
Man.
All right, here's a good idea. Let's watch the 42 and the 39. 42 of LeBoy on fresh tires, the 39 of Metallic on the old tires. There's the difference of grip. Look at the launch the 42 is going to get on corner exit. He was side by side with Metallic coming off of 4. He's got 2 car links in hand going into turn 1. So that is why the 32 or the 62 rather of Ronald Lucet, why he came to pit road as early as he did. He wanted that advantage in terms of speed on those fresh tires. So far, watching the telemetry, I'm not seeing anybody get pegged by the speeding police, so everybody has done a good job of getting their cars woed down to pit road speed at the commitment line. 13 waving his hand out the window. He's coming down pit road, this time from the race lead. Gonna turn the lead over to Josh Metallic in the 39, who stays out an extra lap.
Slowly making his way down pit road.
Closing on 25 laps to go. Metallic gonna continue to stay out. Got fresher tires behind him in the form of Andre Charest in the 75, as well as Ron Hagelin. Oh, Charest into the wall. almost looped it around off of turn 4, hangs onto it. Another bit of a ripple there to the right side of his Pabst Blue Ribbon Ford. But he was able to keep that thing going in the right direction. Metallic's now heading for pit road. This should cycle the pit stops around, I do believe. Jeff Supta should re-inherit the top position, but the gap between himself and Jeremy Jeffries has definitely closed up. It was about, what, 2.5 seconds, I think, when the pit stops began. You can visibly see it's not 2.5 seconds anymore between these guys.
Man, it looked like Andre was real sideways going through that corner.
Russ continuing to fight that Ford. Might not be out of the woods yet of another caution flying either. Still a lot of racing to go. It's going to be 25 laps left when Supta completes these next 2 circuits. Jeffries trying to get by Bob Dixon as he's trying to hunt down Jeff Supta for this race lead, maybe even this race win. 2 previous race winners trying to become the first multi-time winner on the season.
They come down pit road?
Who?
So he did, okay, so it has cycled around to the 11.
Yes.
I was watching my telemetry here.
Boy, that was a tough break there for Jeremy Jeffries. The point of encounter there between himself and Bobby Farrell. He had to really lift off the throttle off of 2. Optimally, you'd want to be on the throttle at that point in time, so that's going to lose him some ground to the 11 car. Here tonight, we've seen a lot of contact exchange from car to car, from racetrack to car. 11 car looks pretty pristine. I don't think there's an ounce of damage on it, as he's pretty much been able to spend the entirety of tonight's event out in front, in clean air, out of trouble, executed a perfect pit stop. Jeremy Jeffries continuing to try and keep him honest. Jeffries just ran his fastest lap of the entire race right there, Michael, 23.649. So if there was ever a question of if it's go time for Jeremy, I think that just answered the question.
Oh yeah, and he's coming.
Problem is though, he's using up the tires trying to reel him in. Is he gonna have anything left if he does catch him?
Well, the question's gonna have to wait and see. He's got no choice now. He's got to fight to get up there.
Last time by, gap was about 7.5 tenths of a second from Supta back to Jeffries. This time by, half a second. He closed it up a bunch. He might even be getting a little bit of toe, a little bit of draft here down the straightaways, allowing him to close up the gap even more. It's less than 3 car lengths now through 3 and 4. Jeffries is there. The question is, was Supta lying in wait? Was he saving his stuff? Has he yet been able to show what he's got until Jeffries gets to his back bumper?
Or he's gonna try.
2-course race right now. Jeff Supta in the 11, Jeremy Jeffries in the 8. You saw Bobby Farrell coming off of pit lane. That was a regularly scheduled stop for the lap machine, as he was off sequence from the rest of the leaders. After things cycled around, we've got 13 drivers on the lead lap. Andre Charest, the last of those. Bob Dixon, Richard Martin, John Godfrey, and Cy Jones all a lap down. Farrell with that pit stop losing another lap, so he is now -3 as your top 5 currently. Supta, Jeffries, Dave Melson, Ronald Lucet, and Jim Gloud. So the question would be for Jim Gloud, did he do enough here tonight if he finished inside the top 5 to advance into the next round of the Eliminator Series after Andre Mahjong's hardships in the early going? We'll have to wait and see, but this battle for the lead, this battle potentially for the win, this is going to be a lot of fun to watch as we close in on 50 to go, and there's a little bit of lap traffic for them to deal with up ahead, the 75 of Andre Charest.
I'll have to watch out and see will the lap car move out of the way.
Got a couple of cars that they might encounter here in the closing stages. Charest would be the first, not too far ahead, the 111 of Ron Hagelin, the lap machine of Cy Jones, and then also just within the vicinity is the 42 of Orlando. Oh boy, as Jeffries gets into Andre Charest, nearly loses it. Charest into the wall. They save it, but that might have just cost Jeremy Jeffries this race win.
Yeah, very well could have. And I'm sure Jeremy Jeffries is not very happy with that.
One would have to assume. I saw the latter portion of the contact. I didn't see what led to it. I was looking over at the leaderboard. But that's gotta certainly not have Jeremy Jeffries very happy, as he was closing in on Jeff Supta for this race victory. Now another lap car between himself and the 11 as Ty Jones, he'll go a second lap down. He's going to jump to the top side, yield to the 8 car. Jeffries trying to get back on the warpath here, but it might be too little too late, because these laps, they're ticking away awfully quickly, and Jeffries is only closing up by hundreds now. Jeff Supta has not put a wheel with a yellow hubcap wrong here tonight, or yellow rim, I guess. They don't have hubcaps.
Right.
They're just stickers.
I mean, you're right.
Now going to drive it to the inside of Ron Hagelin, try and put him a lap down. Hagelin indeed falls -1. That's now going to have us with 11 cars on the lead lap here in the closing stages. Jeremy Jeffries continuing to try to close up that last time by 2 100ths quicker, but I don't know, Michael, with now hitting the line, 13 laps to go, hundredths I don't think are going to cut it. He was cutting it down by tenths earlier on. That was when the momentum was on his side. Even with the near spin he had there, that's got to have heated up that right rear tire, so he's losing corner exit speed. This time by, crossing the line, 12 laps remaining for Jeff Supta. The
And he's
gap
got it
back to
under
Jeremy
a second.
Jeffries. Yeah, it's 9.5 tenths of a second from Supta back to Jeffries. One last-ditch effort here out of the driver of the Atari Chevrolet, trying to reel in the Bass Pro Shops Chevrolet. It's an all-Chevy top 5 right now with Dave Melson, Ronald Lucet, and Jim Gloud. Your highest-running Dodge is Josh Metallic back in 6th. Your highest-running Ford is right now back in 13th, a lap down in Andre Charest. And Richard Martin's the highest-running Pontiac. He's a lap down back in the 15th position. So it's an all-Chevy bow tie affair up here at the front of the field.
Jeffries has just got to breathe and take it one lap at a time.
Remember as well, big picture racing for Jeremy Jeffries. He's currently leading the Eliminator Series points. Got an opportunity to head into next week at New Jersey Motorsports Park as the overall points leader. I'm trying to remember back. I feel like I've run New Jersey Motorsports Park before, but I can't recall exactly what type of a track it is. So, pretty interesting what drivers' opinions are heading into that track next week when we eventually interview our top 3 finishers.
Jeff was faster than the 8 car that lap, and the gap has only been increasing.
But look at the
now
traffic
he's got.
That's a lot of traffic. Cy Jones, Bobby Farrell, and the driver right now, last car on the lead lap, the 42 of Orlando Lavoie. Jeff makes the pass on Farrell. He'll look to do the same on Jones. Lap cars yielding the top side and allowing Supta to get on by. Jeremy Jeffries is going to be receiving the same courtesy here from Farrell. Don't know if this traffic's going to help or hinder Jeremy Jeffries as 7 laps to go. Gap, it's kind of steadied here, Michael. It's been right in the realm of a little more than 9 tenths of a second for the last 3 or 4 laps. So Jeffries, right now, only shot he might have of getting this race win from Supta would be maybe if we have a late race caution, but it would have to happen now because there's going to be a point here within, I would say, maybe the next lap or two, we're going to hit the point of no return.
It already is now. I feel like right now, with 6 to go, it's that point of no return because there are lap cars.
Good call. Good call. That extra lap of pacing would be added on with there being lap machines. So yeah, for Jeremy Jeffries, it's all or nothing. And reeling in Jeff Supta, nothing else is going to be able to help you in regards to the closing stages of this race. He's still got to get around Orlando Lavoie. The gap is now about 8.5 tenths, now 7.5 tenths. That last time by isn't updated, but I think it's too little too late. If if Jeff Zupta continues to lead up to the end of this race, he will have led 132 of the 150 laps here tonight. It has been a clinic for Jeff Zupta, who at the initial start of this race was on the outside of the front row, jumped to the race lead. He has been stellar on starts and restarts. Execution on pit road was flawless. He's had very little to do but just keep that car pointed in the right direction. The speed has been there, and he is just less than 3 laps away from picking up his second checkered flag of the season, second checkered flag in a row here in the Aero 88 series. What an effort by Jeremy Jeffries, but again, the gap remains about 8.5 tenths of a second, and 2 laps left for Jeff Zupta. No traffic ahead for the race leader to have to deal with. It's all about just hitting his marks. No real battles going on the track right now. Maybe a battle for 8th between LaChance and Katie, but things are spread out for the lead lap cars. 1 lap to go as the white flag is displayed for Zupta and the 11 machine. Got the 7-11 up ahead of John Godfrey. Not going to be an issue for Jeff Zupta. Out in turn 4 for the final time. Iowa belongs to Jeff Zupta. Second win in a row here tonight in the Aero 88 series.
He absolutely dominated this race, and I mean, I'm not even sure. Did he have the fastest? He did have the fastest lap of the race as well. By almost a tenth of a second, a full tenth of a second.
Officially 132 laps led here tonight by Jeff Zupta. I think Jeremy Jeffries might have been trying to impale his car on the water barrels, and he missed.
You know, we all have those moments.
We do.
The coffin was out.
I think the race results might not have been official yet. Lap cars probably still had to cross the line. I'm hoping the race is official now, because if it's not, Jeff Zupta would end up getting a post-race penalty for driving backwards. One thing you have to be aware of as the race winner, but burning it down on the front straightaway, Jeff Zupta. Track here tonight that was all about tire conservation, but bear in mind his win last week was at the epitome of tire conservation. The Lady in Black, the track too tough to tame in Darlington, so certainly one would have to assume that the things that he applied to the race last week also were applied to the clinic he put on tonight, as race standings should now be official. And we will take a look at said results. Zupta with the win. Jeremy Jeffries bringing it home in second. We'll have to see what this means as far as the points lead, because, yeah, Jeremy Jeffries was only 1 point back. He brings up with a runner-up spot, but Zupta, he was only 5th in the points stand, 7 points back, so he might be the points leader going to next week. It'll be really close between those two, needless to say. Dave Melson right there in the conversation as well. He was 2 points back, 3rd in the stands, and he brings it home, final spot on the podium in that 3rd position. Josh Metallic, the pole sitter, brings it home 4th. Ronald Lucet, I think this is enough for the 62 to advance into the next round of the Eliminators series. It's he'll complete the top 5. Steve Melson in 6th. Jim Glaude, big question mark there. Was 7th place enough for him to advance into the next round of the Eliminator series? We'll have to wait and see. Bob LaChance, he had early issues, rebounded back for a top 10 in 8th. Doug Cady in 9th. And Frank Rivard, who came into this race the points leader, I don't think he'll be leaving the points leader, but he finishes last car on the lead lap in the 10th position. Rest of these drivers a lap down. Orlando LeBoy in 11th. Did he do enough to advance? Ron Hagelin in 12th. Andre Charest, 13th. Did he do enough to advance? I mean, I think it's going to be really close for maybe that final 15th spot in the next round of the Eliminator series. Richard Martin in 14th. Bob Dixon 15th. John Godfrey in 16th. Then Cy Jones was 4 laps down in 17th. Bobby Farrell 5 laps down in 18th. And 2 drivers out of the race. Dante Ricky still the big question marks on what happened to him. Unscheduled pit stop when he was running 2nd. He finishes 19th. And Andre Mahjong, who was involved in a couple of early incidents, first car out of the race, will finish in the 20th position. Well, here tonight we saw the caution flag fly for 6 times. We ran 26 of the 150 laps under caution, but some really good green flag racing and some green flag pit stops in the middle of it as well. Let's find out what the drivers thought about these race cars under the lights at Iowa. And let's begin things with the driver that brings it home in the third position, Dave Melson. Hey, Dave, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. Got a copy?
I do.
Well, man, it seemed like here tonight it was all about grip for the Goodyears. A lot of drivers slipping and sliding around, whether you guys were on fresh tires or on old tires. Also seemed like restarts were very important. What were some of the fundamentals that you were focusing on tonight to make sure you brought this thing home in the podium?
Wow. Grip was definitely, tire wear was definitely a bit of an issue. Some of those earlier runs we were running a little hard the tires, but enough cautions kept us there. Yeah, I don't know, that last green flag caution was, or last green flag pit stop, I guess, was the biggest help to me. I mean, I made some good time getting on and off pit road, which gained me a few spots, and I just tried to hold my ground right to the end.
It seemed like a very tough racetrack out there, after the early cautions into the long green flag run. Well, did you find out more about your car during a long green flag run than that time with the cautions coming out?
Just hang on and hope for the best. Don't hit the wall.
Now, one thing that we observed during the course of this race as well, where a lot of drivers seem to be having some problems with the apron, getting the left sides down there, or even getting all four tires down there. I mean, it kind of looked like going into turn one, like there was a fine line, almost an invisible line of the transition of turn one to the apron. Did you find that difficult, or was it easy from a driver's point of view to be able to see where that banking ended and the flat apron began?
It's kind of hard to see, but if you do enough laps here, you kind of get used to where it is, so you kind of know how much you can tuck down there. About a half a tire width, probably below the yellow line in one, or sorry, in three, and then you can probably get about one tire width max in three and four, and that's about it. Other than that, it'll shoot you to the right if you don't get it right.
Well, a solid outing for you here tonight, Dave. Started fourth, bring it home in the third position, up inside the top five all night long. Congratulations on a great performance. Going to keep you up there in the point stands as well. It was close coming in. I think it's going to be just as close, if not closer, going out into New Jersey Motorsports Park next week. But before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout outs.
Well, yeah, I'd like to thank you guys showing up here and doing this broadcast. That's an important thing for people to see what's going on here. Gotta thank all the admins here at RTG. Without them guys, we would have nothing to race for, because these guys make everything happen. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
Dave Melson, your third place finisher here tonight under the lights at Iowa Speedway. Congratulations on a job well done. Best of luck next week.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Let's see if we can get the driver that brings it home second place here tonight, Jeremy Jeffries. Hey, Jeremy, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey, what's up, guys?
Well, man, I'll tell you what, it was certainly looking like it was going to be a very interesting battle there at the end. We saw you closing in rapidly to Supta with about 15 to go. Then lap traffic came into play. We saw that little bit of contact between yourself and the 75. Was that the last shot there? Did you have anything left for Supta after that point?
No, I got completely sideways off that turn, trying to keep it off. I think it was Andre, and yeah, that did my tires in. All I could do was basically maintain the gap from then on out. There was no more gaining.
I mean, we saw a lot of very, very close racing out there, and with the run-in with the lap car there. Did you think you had what it had on that right after that round, the green flag pit stops to the end there? Like, to take us through the process of what happened.
After the pit stops, I was amazed. My crew did a great job. Got me right out behind Jeff, and it seemed like I could enter turn one better and I could rotate a little better than Jeff did. But I think 3 and 4, he had the advantage. So it's it would have been interesting to see if I could have stayed right there with him the last 10 laps or so. But yeah, I was going to go for it. I just didn't have the opportunity.
You know, we ended up seeing on that last round of green flag pit stops, different drivers with varying strategies. I think that the 62 from third place was the first to hit pit road. We saw Metallic stay out a little bit longer than everybody else. You elected to come down pit road on the same lap as Jeff. Was there any part of you that wanted to maybe see what would happen if you came in a lap earlier or a lap later, or were you fully committed to running to pit road the exact same lap that he did?
Well, I was actually running quicker lap times before we pitted there at the end, so I really had no reason to pit before him because I knew on fresh tires he was faster. There was no getting around that. And then so I was like, as long as I'm gaining on him, why would I pit? So when I saw him pit, I was like, well, I gotta go with him now.
Talked about the fact that the points were really close coming into tonight, and both yourself as well as Supta, also Dave Melson, all up inside the top five in the point standings, all up inside the podium here tonight. So the points look like they're going to be just as close heading into next week. You guys are very early on into the season, but it certainly looks like there's a fight for momentum going on right now, only a third of the way through.
Yeah, this series is so competitive. It's so evenly matched here. A lot of these races, and it's just fun. It's fun to go out there. I wasn't even thinking about the points. I was thinking about, dang it, I want to pass that 11 car. He bested me last night too when we were at Dover. So, it's he's a hard gat to beat, and like I said earlier, I was going to give it my all, but just couldn't do it.
That's why they're the drivers, we're the commentators. They focus on the checkered flag, we focus on the points for them. Jeremy, a great run for you here tonight. A strong performance, going to be up there near the points lead, if not the points leader, going into New Jersey next week. Congratulations. Before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity to do some thank you sponsors and shout-outs.
All right, first off, congrats to Jeff. I think he dominated that race. He led 133 of the 150 laps, so that's just amazing. He deserved the win, definitely. Thanks to RTG, Bones, and Prime for keeping us going, all the admins for providing the racing each night. To you two for doing this broadcast. Glad to have you all in here. Can't wait to watch it back. And just my Atari Chevrolet crew here. Had a good race. Came up a little short, but it was a lot of fun.
That's Jeremy Jeffries. He's your second place finisher here tonight at Iowa. Congratulations once again on a great run. Best of luck next week and the remainder of the season.
Thanks, Seth and Michael.
All right, let's see if we can now go down to victory lane and talk to tonight's race winner, driver of the number 11 Bass Pro Shop Chevrolet, Jeff Zupta. Jeff, it's Michael and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I gotcha.
Tell you what, last few weeks really, you've been a lap leading machine. 91 of the 134 laps led at Rockingham, 99 of the 111 laps last week at Darlington en route to a victory, and then here tonight, 133 of the 150 laps led this evening at Iowa, putting on a clinic. Now, up here in the booth, it looked like it was pretty easy, but from your perspective, I mean, were there some things that you had to keep aware of to make sure that this thing did get safely to victory lane?
Yeah, I was. I like to dictate the pace of the race by being in front. Obviously, I try to do that as much as I can, and then try to back it down a little bit to save the tires a little bit. But this time I just wanted to kind of see what everybody else had in the beginning. So I figured I was going about maybe 90% instead of like a normal 80% tire run.
Now, seeing Jeremy Jeffries close in on you those last 20 laps or so after that round of green flag pit stops, is that beginning to worry you a little bit, especially hitting lap traffic like that?
Yeah, because when I went into pits, I said when he gets 2.5 seconds behind me, I'm going to pit. And then I came out of the pits, and he's right behind me. So he had a way better pit stop than I did. And yeah, that threw me.
One thing that we observed, especially in the early part of the race, if you weren't the race leader and you had that outside line on restarts, seemed like you were one of the few drivers, especially on fresh tires, that were able to find something in that second groove, basically through 1 and 2 with the exit off of turn 2 to be able to get the race lead back. What was it you were able to find there that seemed like nobody else was able to discover?
I prefer a loose setup than tight, which most of the setups we use on this night tend to be on the tight side. But when it's loose, especially on fresh tires or even older tires, I get a great run on the outside, and I just kind of stay in the gas a little more than probably most are comfortable with. and I just try to drive it around the corner around them.
Well, Darlington, where you picked up your first win of the season last week, we know that that is certainly a place where you have to save tires. Here tonight at Iowa, second win in the season. We know this is a place where you have to save tires. Now, I don't have much knowledge about New Jersey Motorsports Park that you guys are going to next week. I've heard the name bandied around, but I'm not familiar with the racetrack itself. But in terms of the momentum and the stuff you've been able to learn in terms of tire conservation here in the last 2 weeks, what's the confidence level going into next week's race?
It's funny you ask. New Jersey Motorsports is a road course, actually.
Ah.
And I love road courses. They are my favorite. If I could run a road course league, I'd be doing it. So I'm very confident about New Jersey next week.
Oh, you don't got to tell me twice.
Nope. 2 wins in a row and maybe looking to make it 3 in a row next week. Jeff Supta, your winner here tonight at Iowa. Jeff, before we let you go, we're going to hand the mic to you and let you do some victory lane. Thank you, sponsors and shout-outs.
Thank you guys for doing a broadcast. Miss Jessica this week. Nothing against you, Michael. Just want to thank RTG for doing this. Having a great place with great guys to race every week. It's the thing I look most forward to during the week. So just glad to have fun with some friends.
Jeff Supta getting to celebrate here tonight his second checkered flag of the season in the RTR Aero 88 series. Congratulations. Go enjoy this win, Jeff. Best of luck next week.
Thanks, guys.
We saw a little bit of everything here tonight, Michael. The early cautions, the early restarts. You brought up the point there when you were talking with Melson about drivers having to kind of get used to what their cars were able to do on the long run during the second half of that race, because they basically were having a lot of starts and restarts on colder tires. So having to kind of have a period of adjustment there. We had the round of green flag pit stops. Obviously, we heard from Supta that he was really shocked that Jeremy Jeffries got as good a pit stop as he did. So a lot of different facets of this racetrack coming into play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And it was a clinic. He put it on. He was good. He was gone, and he won the race. So a very dominant performance.
Now, obviously, as we heard from Supta, next week, New Jersey Motorsports Park, going to be a road course. So certainly got to feel that a number of the road course ringers, the road course aces, have to have that circled on the calendar. I just took a look at the track layout for a New Jersey Motorsports Park, and that's going to be a challenge for these guys. So going to be interesting to see if the momentum is on the side of driver number 11 in his quest to go 3 in a row.
Yep, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, we appreciate everybody that tuned into our coverage here tonight for the RTR Aero 88 series at Iowa. We hope that you guys enjoyed it. Congratulations once again to Jeff Supta on his victory here this evening. He will more than likely take the points lead into next week. It'll be interesting to see as well who the 15 drivers are that will advance into the next round of the Eliminator Series. I would guess that Ronald Lucet is safe. Jim Glaude might possibly be safe. It might be between Orlando Leboy and Andre Charest for that final 15th spot, but only time will tell. Michael, it's been a great one here tonight under the lights at Iowa. Appreciate you joining me in the booth.
Absolutely. It's very fun, and looking forward to more.
We'll see you guys tomorrow for some more RTG action as we continue on the season for the Talladega Challenge. They'll be running, I believe it's their 4th race of the season, 4th or 5th. But I hope you'll tune in for that tomorrow night with the green flags go to fly at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But thank you once again for joining us here tonight at Iowa. For Michael Norman, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday evening, folks. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network